안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 여러분들이 믿지 못하시겠지만 어저께 퇴근하고 밤 11시, 12시쯤에 복근 운동했습니다. 여기서. 못 믿으시겠죠? 네, 했어요. 오늘은 원래 팔굽혀펴기 하려고 했는데 아직도 이 팔이랑 여기가 덜 풀린 것 같아서 오늘도 일단 스쿼트 위주로 하도록 하겠습니다. 스트레칭이랑 스쿼트를 해야겠어요. 오늘도 엄청 날씨가 더워 보입니다. 비 온다는데 오늘은 반바지 입고 출근해야겠어. 일단 CNN을 봅시다.
Will reduce their office footprint, but others will have to enlarge their office footprint. Not only because of social distancing now, but longer term, people want to have a little bit more space around them. At the moment, we are in the middle of the pandemic, and we are trying to help our clients to keep their employees safe and well. And whether after that pandemic there will be a massive reduction in the need of their workspace in offices is still very much an open question.
Well, the president says he asked his people to slow down testing because it makes them look bad. The actual number of coronavirus infections is rising again in this country, including in his own campaign staffers. 2 more revealed as testing positive today, bringing the total to 8 people so far. Take a look. Here's the 7-day national moving average showing cases rising back toward the 30,000 per day mark. Now here's the state of Florida. Those upward sloping bars showing why some experts already consider Florida to be the next epicenter of this outbreak. And in the president's hometown paper, the Palm Beach Post, the headline reads, "As cases go up, ICU beds go down." Joining us now is William Hasseltine, Chair and President of Access Health International, and former professor at Harvard University Medical School, as well as the Harvard School of Public Health. He's also written a book out today titled A Family Guide to COVID, Questions and Answers for Parents, Grandparents, and Children. With us, well, CNN Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay, first of all, what's your reaction to the rise in cases in Florida? How concerned should people be?
We've been reporting on Florida since the beginning, and I think there's always been concern about Florida. In fact, in initial days, we were worried that the numbers were going to go into exponential growth there, even going back to April. The concern really, I think, more than anything, the numbers are obviously going up. They're going out of proportion to just testing alone. We're seeing, obviously, the demographics, younger people, obviously, being more affected by this now. But the idea that ultimately it could affect people who are vulnerable in this state and possibly increase more hospitalizations. Take a look at this graphic, Anderson. People ask about this all the time. Who is most likely to get infected? Who's most likely to get sick? Who's most likely to die? Sort of break this down by age group. I think we have this. But one thing, as you look at the graphics, you look at the data that's coming out of these various places, keep in mind that Florida, 20% of the population is 65 years or older. So they're a vulnerable population. Cases go up in a vulnerable population. That's a real concern, Anderson.
Professor, I understand you've been looking at the rise in case numbers, and I know you're upset by the spikes. I've heard you compare, people talk about is a wave, a first wave, a second wave. I've heard you refer to this as a pandemic as a tsunami.
Right.
Wow.
The reason I call it a tsunami is I think the image most people have of tsunami is of a giant, very high wave. That's not actually a tsunami. A tsunami may be a 2 or 3 foot wave, but it may be 10 miles long. And it just keeps coming and coming and coming and goes into any area where it can. So it pushes deep in. You ever look at the pictures of a tsunami? It just doesn't go away. That's what this looks like. I'd like to say something else about what Sanjay said, just very briefly. It's a new realization that the people who think that they've gotten off scot-free because they're young and they've just been infected, it turns out, if you do a CAT scan, they've been very severely infected in their lungs. They just don't know it yet. It's like having cancer but not yet being diagnosed. their lungs, 60% of them have what is called ground glass opacity, which is going to show up later as a serious lung disease. So these young people who think they're getting off scot-free, oh, I got infected. It's not scot-free. They are affected, and it will cause them harm.
I've heard some epidemiologists, virologists talk about saying that things are moving too fast and opening up. I understand you don't think closing down things is the answer.
No, we can't close our economy down forever. We have to have an economy, and we can have economies that grow and flourish when disease is all around us. I was born at just the cusp of the change when we had antibiotics. I was born in 1944, and civilians didn't get antibiotics then, except very rarely. And so we did build our cities, we built our railroads, we built all our great country, but we lived very carefully. I remember when polio was run, we didn't go out in more than groups of 3. We never went to the pool. We never went to the movie theaters. There was fear. I remember that fear as a child. I remember rheumatic fever. If you got rheumatic fever, you might suffer for the rest of your life from heart disease. We were much more careful. What I worry about is, yes, we have to open, but we're not being careful. In some places we're being careful, like New York City, and the infection is waning. But in other places, we're not careful, and we can see the results. You mentioned how much the infection is increasing. It's increasing 4 to 5 times what it already was. So if it was 1,000, it may be 5,000 a day. 5,000 a day means 50,000 infected people, because everybody's infected for about 10 days. So you have 50,000 people walking around Florida infecting other people. And in Texas, it's about 40,000 people. So this is not a small matter. This is a very big matter that we can learn to live with.
오늘 하늘이 이쁘네요.
Sanjay, I think
That's
the
one of the
professor.
reasons I wrote the
밖에
book.
나가면
Yeah,
좋겠어.
To help people live with it.
구름이
I think the professor's point, Sanjay, is
이쁘네.
so important that, the very thing that the administration is trying to do of open things up, it's not a either open up or close down. There is a middle ground, which is open things up to the degree it's safe, but wear masks and social distancing and doing the things that we all know actually work, Sanjay. And yet, that's the very thing this administration is subverting that notion. They've given up on their own. They've given up on their own criteria.
We call this back to the future.
Yeah,
Right. We should have learned some lessons here. And by the way, I should point out South Korea, which people often hold up as a model, I think, to Dr. Hasselstein's point. They never really shut down. They just did the things that they should have been doing well. Tested early, wear masks, physical distancing. They were able to mostly keep their economy open throughout this, and they have fewer than 300 people who have died. There's absolutely a middle ground, and people who are absolutely against shutting the economy down oftentimes are the same people who don't want to adopt any of those middle ground strategies. Masks really make a difference. They're not a panacea. They're not foolproof. Physical distancing makes a huge difference. You start adding these things in, and you could have a open economy. Just it would feel different in some ways.
Professor Hasseltine, appreciate it. Dr. Sanjay Gupta as well. Just ahead, the administration fires a top Justice Department official who investigated the president's inner circle. It's a story familiar to my next guest, former FBI Deputy Director and CNN contributor Andrew McCabe. He joins us to talk about what President Trump.
지금 씻고 영어 학원도 가야 되는데 갑자기 영어 학원 넘어가기 싫어.
Let's confront America's deep divide together. I'm
가끔
Dominic.
이렇게 현타가 옵니다.
My new
현타가.
podcast, Silence is Not Enough. Listen on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you have ever been to a sporting event, chances are you've noticed the team's mascot. They are best known for their interactions with fans and boosting morale. But with much of sport on hiatus due to the global pandemic, some mascots are still finding ways to lift spirits in their local communities. The NHL's most recognizable mascot, Gritty of the Philadelphia Flyers, spent time delivering meals to healthcare workers who continue to fight against the virus. Stormy of the Carolina Hurricanes held a drive-by social distancing gift giveaway for kids. Meanwhile, the Washington Capitals, Mystics, and Wizards have all released new t-shirt designs to raise money for the Feeding the Frontlines Fund, a foundation providing meals for healthcare and essential workers. The shirts also promote frequent hand washing, unity, and togetherness. For more information on how you can help during this pandemic, go to cnn.com/impact.
I'm Isa Suarez in London, and this is CNN.
또 할까? 지금 몇 분 했죠? 12분? 타구페퍼기 12개, 20개 한 번만 하고 끝내도록 하겠습니다.
Cristiano Manpour in Amsterdam, Sarajevo, Afghanistan, with elements of the Galilee Division in Israel. Here we are in Habila, a village that has not had any food distribution since June. When the families have finished looking at the names, they come here. This is now a memorial to the victims of the Srebrenica massacre. We're very interested to see what's going on. Mr. President, do you not think that the constant flip-flop on the issue of Bosnia sets a very dangerous precedent? This is a pretty shocking picture. Would you condemn President Assad for 100,000 plus deaths? You still have huge dreams. They didn't take that away from you. I saw you listening to that testimony. You look pretty broken up yourself. I wonder whether you ever think that other countries can learn from what you did.
I'm Scott McLean in Madrid, Spain, and this is CNN.
The White House today had trouble explaining another burgeoning controversy, President Trump's role in the firing of a federal prosecutor involved in the investigation of his allies and organizations close to him. Late Friday night, Attorney General William Barr announced the federal prosecutor for the Southern District of New York was resigning. Only in a statement, Jeffrey Berman said he wasn't. Berman's office prosecuted former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, and according to CNN sources,